Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to the best damn movie-related show on the planet Earth, the John Campea Show podcast, coming from right here in our quaint little studio. I'm, of course, your host, John Campea. I'm joined in studio today by Robert Meyer Burnett,
Batman boy,
Jonathan Voico,
It's all right, guys. I'm here. You don't have to panic.
True Noir girl, Chris Carr is here,
It's me. Oh my gosh, it's so good.
and most importantly, you guys are here. Thank you so much for being here, making our little show a part of your day, and here's how our show's going to go. We're going to start off our show by talking about a number of predetermined topics we got lined up for you guys. Then in the second part of the show, well, that's when we take your live comments and questions. If you have a thought, theory, opinion, question, or a topic you'd like us to discuss, as long as we deem it appropriate to be discussed on the show, go ahead and fire it on into our tip link at www.streamelements.com/JohnCampea/tip. And the good news about this tip link is that it's actually good 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So if you happen to be listening to this show a little bit later in the day on our podcast feed, say either on Spotify or Apple Podcasts or your favorite podcasting app of choice, or if you're watching this show a little bit later in the day, you can still send in a topic or a question. And if you send one in when we're not live, we'll just get around to answering it on the next episode. All right, guys. That down. Let's get things started with this, shall we? Last night, Daredevil, Born Again, aired episode 8. The second to last episode of the season. And I got to tell you right now, I know I'm always like, whenever there's a Disney Plus show, I'm always like, guys, I know they start pretty good, but then they often go to the crapper. I feel now, with one episode to go, I can call it. This show is an unmitigated win for Disney Plus and for Marvel. And it's an unmitigated win for them when they needed it pretty badly. Because, I mean, let's call it what it is. The Disney Plus shows for Marvel have been, to be kind, hit and miss. Definitely some good wins, right? Ms. Marvel, WandaVision, surprisingly, Agatha All Along ended up being both a ratings and quality-wise a pretty good show. Loki's been pretty solid. Yeah, but they also had Echo, and they had She-Hulk, and they had Moon Knight, and they had Secret Invasion, and yeah, Hawkeye's on the fence.
I feel like that was like mid-tier.
Yeah,
like,
Hawkeye was mid-tier.
Just like where I put Captain America and
Falcon and Winter Soldier.
Yeah, Falcon and Winter.
Yeah, some definitely good episodes and some not so good. But anyway, so like the Disney Plus stuff has been hit and miss. And especially, I still have the taste in my mouth of Secret Invasion. I read the script and I thought it read well, and I'm watching the show. I'm like, yeah, this is the same show, but man, if you ever want a great example of how much gap there is between the script and then actually translating it onto the screen, that show is one of the big ones. I still have the bad taste in my mouth. So listen, we're going to talk about Daredevil a little bit here. And I want to give you guys a warning that, listen, most of you who are Daredevil fans, you've already seen the episode. So we're going to talk with some spoilers. So we're going to have Jonathan just put up this spoilers warning right here. We're going to talk about Daredevil episode 8 and our thoughts on the season up until now. And if you don't want to know anything, and if you haven't seen last night's episode, you don't want to know anything, just mute your computer or your screen or whatever until that spoilers warning comes down. Okay? Got it? Good. I can honestly say there hasn't been a single episode this season that I didn't like. At worst, the worst episode to me was pretty damn good. That was the worst one to me. And then you get a couple of episodes, like last night's, that were damn awesome.
Yeah.
So good. Listen, I'll tell you what, Matt's personal journey through this season has been, I'll say it's been better than any of his character arcs in the Netflix series. I'm not saying that this Born Again is better than the Netflix series. I'm saying the actual character journey and the character development of Matt has been better in this iteration of the show on Disney Plus than it was ever in Netflix. And what has been the best part about it is that how him and Wilson Fisk have had this parallel journey, right? Of both kind of over what they were, trying to be something a bit different, constantly feeling tugged, and then finally going, you know what, whatever, I'm that guy again.
Yeah.
Right?
You remember we talk about Godfather 2ing things?
Yes.
This is kind of a Godfather 2. You know, you're watching Michael and young
Yep.
Vito, and I mean, it's not quite like that. But like you said, I think that's been a really strong aspect of this show.
Oh, absolutely.
And you knew all hell was going to eventually break loose.
Yep.
And they've done a great job leading us down that path.
Now, I'll admit, and I was surprised. Like, we didn't get a chance to talk about last week's episode because we were at CinemaCon. I was surprised when they killed Muse. I mean, it narratively perfect. It serves the purpose of the story. I'm all for it. It worked, but I was still surprised that
Bad
they did
dude.
it that early on. But still, I mean, they clearly wanted the focus to be back. They wanted the spotlight back on Matt and Wilson. That's where they wanted the spotlight. And I'm going to tell you, I talked about this on the after show last night. My favorite part of last night's episode, and I think most people missed it. A little bit earlier in the episode, Matt's in the prison with Bullseye. And Bullseye says to him, that's what good guys do, right? They risk themselves to save their worst enemy. Great line. Now fast forward to near the end of the episode. And Matt's in the ballroom. And he hears Bullseye. And he hears the gun cock, right? What I loved, and this is brilliant writing, I think most people even missed it. He pauses. Matt pauses. He doesn't rush in immediately to push Wilson out of the way to protect him. He pauses. And you know, in that pregnant moment, he's like, do I really want to save this guy? And I guarantee you, had Bullseye showed up there 5 minutes earlier before Matt figured out that it was Vanessa that had Foggy killed, no chance he saves Wilson. No chance. But in that pregnant pause, which they did so subtly, he thinks about it for a second, probably without them doing the overt, that's what good guys do, right? Like the echoing words of Bullseye. They risk themselves to save their... You know that's part of that was what's going through his head. And at the last moment decides to throw himself in front of Wilson. And it's just that pause that I think most people miss, but I thought was brilliant. And again, I just think this show right now, because you guys know I was so apprehensive about Daredevil going to launch. I listened to the interviews of the showrunners, and I just kept thinking, the showrunner doesn't get it. The showrunner doesn't understand what makes this show great. Oh, he does. Oh, he do. I've been so impressed with this. Again, I'm not ready, Rob, to say that this is on level with the Netflix one.
Sure.
But it's close, and I never would have thought it'd been close. What have you been thinking about the season so far?
Well, as you were just starting to say, the complexity of what's going on in terms of Vanessa's involvement with Bull, because I was like, you know, you show Bullseye killing Foggy at the beginning of this season. That's a huge deal.
Yeah.
And it kind of was, I mean, okay, Bullseye goes to prison. And I was like, that's it? Like, there's got to be extra added levels of all that. So I was waiting for them to get back and add some more complexity, because Bullseye is a huge part of Daredevil mythology.
Yeah.
And where it went, they brought it up to that level of operatic crime, maybe not Godfather level, but they brought it up there. And I was, like you said, pausing, like he did make a decision, and then he did the Daredevil thing to do. But they've added, like, I thought the bank heist episode, the Inside Man episode, was that a vestige of the original version of this show?
I just really liked it.
It was fun. It was fun, but it's interesting to me because it really does seem like they didn't jettison all of the original iteration of what they were doing before they had it. You can see, because they talked about, I think they were talking about how it was more about Matt and Wilson Fisk, and it wasn't about so much Daredevil. There wasn't enough Daredevil in it. But I think this storyline, like you said, showing where they're going, and even the marriage counseling stuff, I'm like, where it all has come
It's
together.
all paying off.
And I was watching it last night going, you know what? This is some high quality programming. Now, there's been some steps that I don't necessarily agreed with a lot, like the news reporting on the streets. I still feel that was kind of a...
I still think that's going to have a payoff in the finale.
I do too.
I think it's building up to something.
I do too. But I was going to say, yes, I think it will. And I know after last night's episode, I'm convinced more than ever it's going to have a great payoff. Like, I don't know.
I had thought, and I think one of our viewers as well, I'm sure a few people have thought, that was actually Muse, and that's how he got his victims.
That became one of the theories.
Yeah,
but then that obviously went away. Yeah, I'll tell you one of the other things about the one thing that happened like in last night's episode. I talked about this on the postgame show. Was that when Kingpin anoints Little Soprano as the deputy mayor, I thought, now wait a minute. Like, we know Wilson values loyalty above everything. And I said on the show last night, I said, but this kid is so inexperienced and he just made a massive mistake.
Yeah.
I don't see Wilson giving that kid that job just yet. And then one of our viewers wrote in and said this: Wilson's putting him in place to be a fall guy in case things go bad.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
He sacrificed.
that's exactly what he's doing.
Yes.
It was like, it's like Penguin with his sidekick.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, with Vic.
Yeah.
Yeah, with Vic. Oh, don't bring up Vic. That's just making me sad.
But that's also being broadcast left and right too, with each thing of him being like, I will burn for you. I will sacrifice myself for you. He's so willing to be a
You
pawn.
said you would burn for me.
Yeah.
So burn.
That's really good.
Oh, yeah, that's good.
So I mean, and look, I just want to jump back to that second thing about that the bank heist episode. I think again, one of the things a lot of people miss about that episode, and what the pivotal thing about that episode was that was the episode that Matt gave up on his thing to let the system be the system. That was the episode that he embraced being Daredevil again, because as the bank robbery is now done and the one lead guy was getting away. Remember, episode 1, Matt's like, I believe in the system. I'm going to let the system do its work. In that episode, it was Matt didn't go to the cops and say, hey, the guy who was running this thing got away.
Right.
Nope. He said, I got to go get checked out, put on the mask, and when got him. That's when he embraced being Daredevil again. But one other shot I got to mention. I'm going to see if you guys know what I'm talking about. Where Bullseye uses his own chipped out tooth to attack the guard. Just quick question. Do you know what that reminded me of?
Wait, I have a feeling.
What do you think it is that reminded
I think
me
I think it's Magneto when they brought in the iron in so he get out his plastic.
It's not, but that's what one of our viewers suggested last night too. Here's what it reminded me of. Colin Farrell's Bullseye in the Ben Affleck one when he's on the plane with the little old lady and he kills her with the peanut. I
she jokes.
had immediately thoughts of that when he did that. Anyway, Chris.
As I laugh.
I mean,
awful.
I think last night's episode was amazing, but the bigger picture is I think the show, I'm all ready to call it with one episode go. The show's a win. It's a huge win. What's your feelings been, and what do you think the importance is of how good the show has been so far?
Yeah, they're gonna have to really shit the bed to make us not a good show at the
it was
end
all
here.
a dream.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my
He's
God,
gonna be-
he's been in a coma. Yeah.
Foggy wakes up.
It's
Oh,
all
I had this
foggy.
terrible
Yeah.
dream, Foggy, that you were shot.
It'd be great.
It's just everybody at Murdoch and Nelson twerking.
That's how it ends.
Oh,
I
no.
would love that, honestly.
With Jennifer.
Oh, bring her in. Bring her in. Give her justice. I want to talk about what Rob brought up about with the Foggy debacle at the beginning, right? So we just killed his best friend and now he's just going to be a sad boy and accept it. I love that has made us as the audience so on board with Matt's frustration with the judicial system.
Yeah.
I love that is a shared rage that when he blows up this episode and is like, this is all pointless. This is all so useless. You're like, yeah, it is. Let's go crack some skulls. Government is stupid. Let's grab a Molotov cocktail. I am radicalized. You have this bloodlust along with him as you watch
Yes.
this, which is so great and so cool to create for your audience to feel and be totally on board. The way that they've kind of teed up Heather to not be sympathetic after her attack. Likening him to Muse, where you're like, hey, I get it, but stop, I like him. You know, they're doing such great jobs of getting you really ready for this finale. And everything is now coming to this really great conclusion. Seeing how BB actually has a plan.
Yeah.
Seeing, Commissioner Gallo actually having, a spine and trying to stand up to things. That horrific air fryer moment. Oh my God.
Oh my God, yeah.
Oh. Which I do think is like the worst way to die is to be air fried. I think or deep fried. That'd be horrible. Drowning and burning at the same time. No. But this show has just done such a great job of paying tribute to the original Netflix series and finding its own footing.
Yes.
And making those choices to be more of a political intrigue, character exploration in which we are looking at the duality of man and how you can ultimately not fight your darker vices and the darker sides of you, and you have to accept those things. At least that's the thesis of this show so far. And it's just been so freaking fun.
You know
I
what
love
the great
it.
thing about that speech you brought up when he's talking to his partners, like, this is all pointless, this is whatever. One of the things this show has done so great is doing little things that we don't quite get and then having a big payoff for it later, right? I remember some people criticizing that whole sequence they had where Matt's trying to represent the guy who stole the caramel corn. But that was all set up to be a payoff to that big moment of frustration. It's like, this guy's in jail. Who cares? This guy goes to prison for 6 months for eating some caramel corn. Like, it all is a part of Matt's development. And I love how they're paying that all off. And kudos to them. I mean, I think Chris is absolutely right. Like, they would have to shit the bed in the finale so monumentally. So I'm willing to call this season's been a win. How
Everyone's
do
a
you guys
scroll.
feel about it so far? Whatever your guys' thoughts are, jump down to the comment section below and leave those thoughts there. All right, guys. With that down, let's move on to this, shall we? You know, one of the movies that they previewed for us at last year's CinemaCon was the new Rami Malek, Lawrence Fishburne movie, The Amateur, which is a formula we've seen before. Like, an otherwise mild-mannered guy turns on the rage when his wife or daughter or whatever gets murdered and he decides to go out seeking revenge. We've seen it before, but you got an Academy Award winner in Rami Malek playing the lead, and it looked terrific. They talked about it a little bit again at this year's CinemaCon, but it was about to come out, so they didn't show us too much. But I've been really excited for this film. Well, the reviews have now come out for The Amateur, and they're pretty good. They're pretty good. pretty good. I mean, as of right now, it's holding a 67%, which means a solid majority of the critics like it, but it's not like in the 80s or 90s or anything like that. And again, it's kind of like what we've seen with some movies. The ones that like it don't love it. The ones that dislike it don't hate it. It's just kind of paint by numbers. Here's some of the reviews that we have coming in. Movie Marker wrote, they liked it. The Amateur resembles a modern spy film that plays on one's cunning rather than one's punch. Despite Malek's performance and promising narrative, the erratic pacing and character development compromise its intensity, resulting in a lackluster thriller. That's one of the positive ones. Zach Pope reviews right, I wanted to be surprised by how good The Amateur would be, but came out surprised by how generic it was. A total mixed bag with some fascinating ideas and themes of what grief can make people do. That's one of my favorite themes, but it never lets scenes take a moment. Movie Guru right, contrived by the numbers and increasingly preposterous with stilted, on-the-nose dialogue and underwritten characters. Blu-ray.com wrote, Director Hawes seems allergic to excitement. Offering audiences a mess of motivations and supporting players competing for attention in a slowly deflating movie. Deep Focus did like it. The result is skillfully made and written, and its plot holes and more nonsensical aspects don't nag at you until afterwards. Even then, they're not so bothersome. So again, he liked it, but didn't exactly love it. Empire Magazine gave it a positive review, saying, operating with more of a steady pulse than a full-on thrill ride, this revenge flick exchanges fists for brains with only decent results. AU Review wrote, the pure definition of counter-programming in the current climate, Malek's vehicle is worth the drive for the adults dropping their kids off to their umpteenth rewatch of Minecraft. Hey, go see it if you got to dump your kids in to watch Minecraft. Film Inc. wrote, there's compelling material here, both right at the front and between the margins, and those looking for another Mr. Robot fix of socially distant keyboard shenanigans will certainly get their fill. So it goes on and on. It's again, 67% the last time I wrote it. I'm going to admit I'm a little disappointed. Not so much, 67% is fine, but I was kind of hoping to see that the people who liked it, like, really liked it. That's what I was hoping. But it seems it's across the board, the general sense is yeah, it's a movie. It's okay. It's pretty good. I'm disappointed because I thought the previews looked so great.
Yeah.
Chris, I know you were looking forward to this movie. Are you surprised by the feedback we're hearing? What are you thinking?
I'm a little bummed out because sure, it's got kind of that paint by numbers quality to the plot, but dang it, it's a plot I like. So I was really looking forward to this, and I'm still going to see it, to be clear. I really like Rami Malek. I really enjoy John Bernthal, so anything that he's in, I'm going to see, even if he does have a smaller part in this. That also feels maybe a little redundant for him at this point of, I'm the rugged CIA guy who just appreciates you, desk jockey boy. I would love to see him do something that really stretches him. But it's allergic to excitement. That's a really horrible pull quote. That's awful and does really bum me out. Yeah, I'll just catch a matinee of this and hope that something makes me feel alive in it. I don't know.
The one that I was laughing at is I don't remember who wrote it, but it was essentially like you'll notice the bad things later. So you're coming out like that was pretty good. Wait a minute.
I hate those though when you're like, no, and you explain to a friend, well, I mean, there are some plot holes. Well, there's this. And that happened. Oh God, do I hate this movie? I hate when that realization sinks in with you. Ugh.
Rob, what are you thinking about what we're hearing?
Well, here's the thing. This is another interpretation of a novel called The Amateur. It was filmed for the first time in 1981.
81.
Came out in 81.
I know that one.
John Savage was in it. The thing that I worried about in terms of this is the plot is solid, same plot. But when the novel was written, you didn't have the surveillance, you didn't have the technology that we have today. And the book and the original story was a more of a slower pace. So we live in the post John Wick world. We live in the post Enemy of the State world, where Will Smith, Enemy of the State's still a banger movie. Where
I like that movie.
Really good. A guy gets involved in a different way, but kind of the same analyst out of his depth gets involved in this kind of thing. I was wondering how it was all going to play out. And I think maybe they were kind of fighting against that modern sensibility that people were expecting. Because like you said, the trailer to me looked great for this. Mm-hmm. And I'm just wondering if there was a lot of kind of throwbacks in the novel from almost 50 years ago. So that it was fighting with the source material a little bit. But I don't know if that's true. And I remember seeing the movie was a staple on cable when we first got cable. I saw it on Showtime back in the day. But I still like these kinds of movies. Like, I like espionage
I'm a
thrillers.
sucker for these too.
And I'm looking at it's handsomely made. It's Rami Malek. I'm going to enjoy it. I mean, it would have to be bad. No one's saying the movie was bad. But I think people are
some of them were.
Well, yeah, I guess so.
Some of them were.
But I think they're expecting that amped up. I mean, if it's more like Jean Le Carré, it's more like Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy or something.
Yeah.
I'll be into it. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't just need guys getting capped in the head like John Wick movies, one after another. So I'm going to still see this. I'm going to go see it in a theater. I'm excited about seeing it. And I'm going to go anyway, despite anyone else.
In my head canon, this is part of the accountant world. It has the same color timing. And I think John Bernthal is the same character.
I was going to say,
Probably.
see, I'm actually much more excited for another John Bernthal movie called The Accountant, which, by the way, rumor has it, that's going to be the Monday Screen Unseen screening at AMC.
Oh, see, if that checks out, man.
Yeah, because I went to the Screen Unseen this Monday.
What was it?
It was Drop.
Yeah.
I liked it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it ended up being Drop. So the rumor is The Accountant too, so that's what I'm more looking forward to. Anyway, guys, question is for you. What do you think about this? Have you been looking forward to The Amateur? I know I certainly have. I'm a little disappointed by hearing that even the critics that seem to like it didn't seem to like it all that much, but it does have a 67%. I'm still probably going to go see it. What do you guys think? Whatever your thoughts are, jump down to the comment section below and leave those thoughts there. All right, guys. That down. Let's move on to this, shall we? HBO has just announced that they have greenlit Last of Us Season 3 officially prior to Season 2 coming out this Sunday?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh my God. This Sunday is when Last of Us returns.
I'm
so psyched for this.
Andor's.
And Andor is coming like a few days after that or something like that. So they've officially greenlight Season 3. Now, many people might scratch their heads a little bit and say, wait a minute. Didn't they announce a long time ago that they were going to take the second game and split that into 2 different seasons? Yes, but they weren't committing to actually do that second part. They weren't actually committing to doing Season 3. They wanted to see how Season 2 turned out. And according to this article in the Hollywood Reporter, The Last of Us renewed for Season 3 by HBO after glowing Season 2 reviews. And it says, It can't be overemphasized how proud HBO is of the second season, says HBO drama head Francesca Orsi. No idea if that's any relation to Roberto. No, I guess it's spelled differently. All right, this is what they wrote. Season 2 will not be The Last of Us. HBO has renewed the Emmy-winning drama series for a third season ahead of its highly anticipated return this weekend. The news comes on the heels of the show's new episodes receiving glowing reviews from critics, with Season 2 currently sitting at a 92% positive rating on Rotten Tomatoes, and The Hollywood Reporter calling it thrilling and addictive. I'll tell you what, when I start, kind of surfing around YouTube, for whatever reason, the algorithm often gives me show clips, sometimes of shows I've never even watched. But for some reason, I stumbled across a show clip of Nick Offerman, the introduction of Nick Offerman in episode 3 of Last of Us. That whole thing when he's in his town, in his bunker, and the town's being evacuated, and then he goes out and sets up the town as his own private little paradise.
It's like a dream come true.
It was so good. It's like a dream come true. It was so good. I love this show. I was shocked I think it is the show that really broke the ceiling on the video game curse. We've had some good stuff, Sonic, things like that, but I think it was Last of Us that went like, no. See, video game stuff can't only just be good, it can be the best in the world. It can have the potential of being the best stuff out there in the world, regardless of genre. Then we've had things like Fallout and things like that come since. But man, I'm very excited to hear that they finally given the green light to this. They're going to go into production relatively soon, they said, on season 3. We already know it's going to be the second part of game 2. But Chris, what is going to be interesting to me is we saw in season 1, Craig Mazin and Druckmann were not afraid to deviate from the game.
Yeah.
And it felt like to me that every time they deviated from the game, they elevated the show. How much are they going to do that in season 2? Now, I expect somewhat, because I don't think the event is going to happen in episode 1 or 2. So they're going to move that around. So it's going to be really interesting to see how far they deviate this time around that they did from the first time. Anyway, you're hearing their greenlit season 3 now. What's your first reaction?
It was, yeah, duh. Obviously. Obviously they're going to do this. This is such a crown jewel for HBO right now. And as a friendly reminder to everyone too, the video game industry is the highest grossing form of entertainment out there. So anytime you have excellent video game IP, people are going to try to mine it. And The Last of Us was this game that people pointed to for years of, well, they're just games. Well, they're not that good. The cinematic cutscenes in The Last of Us are some of the most beautiful and heartbreaking things. That's why the HBO show took some of those and did them frame for frame, right? And to your point, yeah, they did take some things, they expanded and elevated other places and made this a really beautiful, heartbreaking story that's hard to watch and heartbreaking and you really connect with. Also, it just appeals to Angelinos everywhere of, oh my gosh, a breadstick did this to everybody? Dang.
Breadstick.
Stay away from gluten. You'll become a clicker. Love that. I think they're going to do some really great things with season 2. I think they're absolutely going to build out the drama leading up to the event, because I think that is something where they're going to absolutely make sure that we are the most heartbroken when that happens.
Yeah, I don't see the event happening till the second last episode of the
season. I was
season.
going to say Pentultimate is where I think this will happen.
I drift from you guys.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Really?
Say again?
I kind of drift from you guys unless they're doing a story structure where it's we've already brought this up, a Godfather 2, where they are able to do a flashback back and forth.
Which the second game does have significant
That is
And
flashbacks.
restructured,
Yeah.
so it's flashbacks until it culminates with that. Then I'm on board with you guys because, and then season 3 is linear.
Yeah.
But if they're not going to do that, I think they're going to shock people by second episode latest.
They're going to just like Sean Bean us.
Boom.
Dang.
I'll just say there's somebody in too many of the trailers and featured way too much to take them out that fast. But I don't know. Rob, they've greenlit the season 3 now ahead of season 2 coming out. It's not surprising to us to hear it.
No.
But the fact that they've now gone ahead and did it, and the second season is getting such a great response. What are your thoughts?
Well, first of all, I think the obvious, we're what, 4 weekends away from Mother's Day? I think that's the weekend to do it. If you want the whole family together watching getting their Last of Us fix, and you want to hit them hard, the event can happen then. But I do think that they were always planning on, even the success of Last of Us 1, season 1, showed them that they're going to get at least 3 seasons out of this. So I would imagine this show was always going to be 3 seasons or 2 seasons. I mean, this Last of Us Part 2 would always be 2 seasons, and they planned it that way. So I'm sure it was already written that way. They just don't announce that it was greenlit because of just the way it works, the way TV works. Because I learned this when we worked on the animated show for Netflix. They greenlit 3 seasons from the beginning, but we couldn't say that, even though we were in production on 3 seasons. The scripts were being written and animation was being done. And I think for this, because it's such a logistically large show, that they were probably just waiting in the wings to announce this. And because of the reviews that came out, they figured, okay, now is the time. So, and it would make sense because they can move it into production much quicker and get the 3rd season out in a reasonable amount of time. But I'm excited for this. Look, this show, I think, exceeded everybody's expectations.
Yeah, I think even the most optimistic of people have exceeded their
100%.
expectations.
And, they did things in this show where, like with the cordyceps, the cordyceps would sense things. Like, they did some really interesting stuff in the show that wasn't in the game. Like, if you stepped on something here a mile away, they could feel it, or, there was... That made it even more realistic.
That was based in science, so that was cool
totally. Totally. And I think that what The Last of Us did so well is the TV show works in tandem with the game, and in a way it sort of elevates. Like, if you go back and you play The Last of Us 1 now, and you've seen the show, I think you have more of an appreciation. They work in tandem together, and they elevate the entire, call it an IP. Yeah. And I would expect season 2 to do even more of that.
Yeah.
Because they have something, as you call it, the event. They have something to build around so they have this dramatic thing that happens that they have to make work within the context of a show. And I think that it's probably, as Chris was saying, and you were saying, I think they're going to string it out.
Yeah,
because
by the way, I just wanted to point out, somebody in the live chat said, well, John, the trailers can all just be from the first 2 episodes. Absolutely. That's not my point. My point is that if you're going to feature something heavily in your promo, you can't then just take that away right at the beginning of the show.
Right.
Like, if you're going to, because you're basically...
You can, but that's mean.
Yeah, you can do that, but it would be, that would be a mistake.
But isn't The Last of Us world
It is very mean, yeah. Pam and Mike, don't do that.
But I also want to point this out too.
Didn't stop Game of Thrones.
I know.
In the article, a lot of times, like for instance, when they announced this new season of Handmaid's Tale, they announced, come back for the final season, right? There's none of that language in this announcement for season 3. There's not a hint in any of the statements or announcements that season 3 is the final season.
Right.
They're definitely going to be a season 4. There's 100% going to be a season 4, and that'll go beyond the games. So it's going to be kind of interesting to see. Anyway, guys, question is for you. What do you think about this? Last of Us season 3 has now officially been greenlit. I mean, we were expecting it to be, but it's kind of nice to hear it become official prior to season 2 launching. Do you think they'll go beyond that? When do you think they all go golfing? Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts.
That was bad, John.
All right.
I'm going to cry a second time today already. God damn it.
With that down, let's go on to this, shall we? We're going to play a little game right now of true or false. A little bit earlier today, I jumped into the community and post section of our YouTube channel and I asked our viewers, do you have some true or false scenarios for us? Go ahead and drop them in. A bunch of you guys did. Thank you so much for that. We picked out a couple of them to do. So, Jonathan, what do we got?
Okay, first up, we got from Boss Sidoni. Rob, true or false, Minecraft will have a below 50% drop this weekend.
Ooh. Less than 50%. That's what they're asking?
Yeah, they're saying true or false, it will have an under 50% drop.
True. I'm going to go out on a limb. I'm going to say, like, it's going to have a 49 or 48. It's going to be just below 50%.
Chris?
I'm with you. I think people are going to keep bringing their kids back to this. I don't think it's going to have a huge drop.
Yeah.
False. Let's keep this in perspective. For it to have a less than 50% drop, the movie needs to make $83 million in its second weekend. I think it'll have a very good second weekend, like a solid second weekend, big money making weekend. But I don't think it's going to be less than. Now, Mario Brothers had a 37% drop. unbelievable.
That was insane.
Yeah, that was absolutely crazy.
Yeah.
I don't think Minecraft has the same rewatchability as Mario Brothers. I think it's going to have an amazing. Here's the thing. I think it's going to have a second weekend that would have been the second or third biggest opening weekend of the year. I think it'll make over 70. I just don't see it making 83 million on its second weekend. But it'll be close either way. All right, what's next?
We got Mark Huber. Chris, true or false? The upcoming Harry Potter series will not make it through all 7 books.
Ooh.
Wow.
Well, this is very pessimistic because that's assuming that these are very bad adaptations of this. And I think a series is probably the way to go with Harry Potter. Also, you have to remember, this is still a global phenomenon. I mean, this past year, Bloomsbury, who publishes for Harry Potter, had a 30% increase in their global sales. So people are still buying these books. They've sold over 600 million of them. People are still reading Harry Potter. People are going to get to dive into the series even more. So I feel like they're going to do all 7. And HBO usually tracks about a 3 to 5 season show anyway, with Game of Thrones and other ones being around 6 or 7 seasons. So I feel like they'd get through all of them.
So you're going to say false?
Yeah.
I'm going to say true. Now, am I saying that it can't make it through all 7? Not at all. It could. It could. But here's the thing. Even most great shows don't make 7 seasons. You can do really well and have a strong first season, a strong second season, a strong third, then kind of waning on the 4th and drops a little bit more on the 5th, and then suddenly they don't want to put the money into 6 or 7. So, listen, it can still be a good show and not make 7. So 7's a big number. So I will say it is true that they won't make it through all 7. It could, but I'm going to say it's true that it won't. Rob, what about you?
I'm going to say it's true, but that's because I think either the apocalypse, the rapture, the AI destruction of humanity,
possibly all of the above.
All of the above will happen before the show ends, because I think it's going to take. Not only do they have to do all 7 books, but they have to do them in what?
7 years.
7 years,
yeah.
Which I don't see happening.
And it
either.
doesn't even air for like what, another year or so?
Another year or two, something like that.
So I would like to look. I'm optimistic about life in general, so I would like to say yes.
Warner Brothers has put a lot of money into the Harry Potter IP.
They're going to get there.
Come hell or high water, they're going to try to do it, even if it is with AI and all those kids have like 7 fingers because AI can't figure out how to do hands.
And I guess, we can go extinct and they can bring us back like the dire wolves, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That's fine.
All right, what's next?
Okay, we got MK says, John, true or false, James Gunn's Superman will gross more than any Marvel film this year?
True. Now, understand that I don't think, when you're talking about the big DC and Marvel films coming out this year, Superman, Thunderbolts, and Fantastic Four, I don't think any of them are billion-dollar club material, at least not yet. I don't think any of them are going to be super big. I think they can all be successful. I think they can all make money. But all of them have certain things working against them, right? Thunderbolts is basically a collection of B-list characters. Fantastic Four has a long history of failure as an IP on the big screen. And Superman is trying to overcome the disastrous failure that was the DCEU. So there are things working against it. But can Superman be the one that kind of peaks a little bit higher than the rest of them? Yeah, I'm not necessarily saying it'll be the best of the 3, but yes, I think it's true that Superman will make more than either of the other 2 Marvel films. Chris?
False.
Ooh.
Just cuz.
All right.
Mostly because I think people are still a little muddled on what the DC universe is.
100%.
There are still people already, which I feel like this is such a dumb criticism of just like, I don't know, this movie looks pretty like optimistic and it looks like a little brighter version of Superman. Yeah, that's who Superman is. Pick up a comic book, nerds.
No.
He's the beacon of hope. But I feel like these other films just have a little bit more momentum behind it and a little less, and I know this is a loud but small group. There's just a lot of weird fans out there who want this movie to fail.
I think there's not as many as you think
I think it's a small, loud group. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I still think Marvel is probably going to pull forward just a little bigger.
Rob, what about you?
I think I'm going to go true. I'm with you only because, look, there's a lot that's been made of the fact that they showed a crypto scene to lead with this new, but I think people are kind of missing the point. It's not that it was a crypto scene. It's just that was a quick way to show the tone of the movie, and to have crypto jumping over Superman. Now I'm now listening to, well, Superman can't be hurt. I mean, like, look, as my friend Jamie pointed out, if Superman's totally invulnerable, it's really hard to sympathize or have an audience identify with a character.
Or have any tension or have any excitement. Or
Absolutely.
Because there's no stakes.
And I love that the movie is creating its own mythology, just like when John Byrne rebooted Superman after the Crisis on Infinite Earths. He added a lot of new things to it, and where he brought, it's not that Superman's depowered, but I love the idea that Superman can actually, like, he's not going to die, but he can be wounded and hurt.
Yeah.
And he needs a blast of radiation from the yellow sun to help him out. I liked all that. And I think if we have a movie, and I found it entertaining. So if you have a movie that says, take that crypto scene, just when crypto's jumping, that's 30 seconds or less of wildly entertaining and fun stuff. Imagine a movie full of 30-second scenes for 2 hours, full of fun and entertaining stuff, where you have a smile on your face during the whole movie. I think that that's what we're going to get with James Gunn's Superman. And I don't care if Superman and Lois Lane have a 10-minute conversation in the middle of the movie, if it's entertaining, because if you go back and you watch in Superman the movie, when Superman comes to Lois Lane's roof,
With Christopher Reeve,
that is a wildly entertaining scene where Superman's a baller. He's flirting with Lois and she's flirting with him, and they're just sitting down talking. And that's wildly entertaining.
You know, some people don't know this. That's how a lot of relationships start. With a conversation.
You know?
Are you saying this is the...
I thought it started with swiping right or whatever it was.
Are you saying this is the You've Got Mail of superhero movies?
You know what? It wouldn't be such a bad thing. It wouldn't be such a bad thing. And I do think that both Thunderbolts, if you look at the first films in Marvel history, they're not billion-dollar. I mean, Black Panther was, but that was coming off the character had already been introduced, and he was already a badass, and everyone loved him. Captain Marvel, you know, you had the female audience and all that. It was between Infinity War and Endgame. I think both Thunderbolts and Fantastic Four are going to do that 700, 800 million tops.
That would be really impressive.
Which would be great. Really impressive for both.
Oh, yeah.
Whereas I think Superman, it's going to bring that 4-quadrant family entertainment business, like watching The Last of Us Season 2 on Mother's Day, Will. I think that it's going to bring that same kind of feeling to the audience. And I think people are going to go back and forth. And back again and again and again.
So excited to just ruin my mom's Sunday. Like, no, let's watch this really charming show, Marie.
All right, what's next?
Oh, yeah, my job. McKeel says, Rob, true or false, James Gunn's Superman will gross more than...
No, already did that one.
That's what happened. I skipped one. Okay. The Real Raging Cajun says, Rob, true or false, Daredevil Born Again is actually improving the Marvel situation brand despite viewership.
I totally agree with that. We were just talking about that. Look, you know what? Any IP is one program or movie away from being restored to some kind of luster. And I think that there was a lot of people, a lot of talk about this. They retooled it all. Proof's in the pudding. I think this is a great way to bring people's interest back to Marvel. They're going to... Even the people that haven't watched this yet are going to go back and watch it after hearing it's good. If it sticks the landing, which we know it probably will, leading into Thunderbolts, which comes in less than a month, right? I think this absolutely elevates the Marvel brand, and I think it can be the beginning of them building their trust back up with the audience to deliver what we want from the MCU.
Yeah, I'm going to say true on this as well, because this kind of makes... People have started saying, like, over the last couple of years that I've turned into a Marvel hater. And not at all. It's just that I call it like I see it. When they're doing great, they're doing great. And when they struggled, they struggled. And for a while, they've struggled. But I got to say, they're 3 out of their last 4 for doing well. I mean, Deadpool and Wolverine, Agatha, and now Daredevil. Captain America, Brave New World, not so much. But they're 3 out of 4 for the last couple one. And I think, and listen, it was really important that Daredevil be good, because Daredevil was so beloved by the people who watched it on Netflix. It was so important. It could have been very bad. If this show came out and was the next Secret Invasion, it just could have really been damaging for Marvel. But I think them doing this, and by the way, the number, yeah, they're not as high as Agatha, but Agatha's numbers were surprisingly high.
Yeah.
And people got to remember too, that as popular as Daredevil on Netflix was, it never had as many people watching it as you thought were watching it, right? It was never that huge number. I mean, I think the numbers for Daredevil are perfectly fine, and I do think this does a lot to help Daredevil kind of re-cement itself with its fan base. So I'm going to say true.
Wouldn't it be wild if I was like, false, good shows don't mean shit? No. No, I think this is great for them. And this is another one of those kind of gateway drug shows for Marvel, too, of, hey, are you not really into the superhero genre? Cool. I've got a great show for you that has the aspects of a legal procedural and a political thriller and a psychological case study of criminal activity.
Oh.
Yes. Go watch this show. I keep talking to Amy Newman about this. If she's not a big Marvel person, she doesn't really like superhero stuff, but she likes a lot of on the street, boots on the ground kind of superhero things. And I keep pitching the show to her of, I think this is one you'd really like because it's such an interesting character study. This is something that can get a wider audience than your typical, well, I've read some of these comics and I like them. We love that audience. We're part of that audience. But this has such a broader reach and it's being executed so well that this is, of course, wonderful for them.
Just quickly to that point, I think Daredevil comic books are great for people who are like, I shy away from comics.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
100%.
All right.
All right.
How many more do we got left?
Two more.
Two more.
So back on track. This one goes to Chris from Kanan. Says, true or false, John Wick Ballerina will make more than 400 million at the box office?
Ooh, great question. Well, Chapter 4 made, what, 440 globally? Is that correct? Or am I pulling that out of my butt?
I'm going to look that up.
I might be pulling that out. Since we have Keanu, John Wick, confirmed in the trailer, I feel like it could make over 400. People really enjoy this franchise.
Yeah,
and they know.
440.
Okay, cool. And they know that he's going to be part of it and have a major role in it, not just kind of a cameo. So I could see it performing better than the last one, even though this is a spin-off. Yeah, true.
I'm going to say false. Listen, we saw a banger preview for Ballerina at CinemaCon, and they showed us like this 10-minute action sequence that was just bonkers and great, and I can't wait for it. But the reality is, only one of the 4 John Wick movies made over $400 million. Just one. And that was the last one. And while Keanu Reeves and John Wick do appear in this next one, it's not his movie. It's Ana de Armas's. The first John Wick film, if I remember correctly, didn't even make, or only made around 200 million. Let me just double check here. The first John Wick movie made $86 million. Now, I'm not saying Ballerina's only going to make $86 million, but I think it might be a little unrealistic to think it can make more than either John Wick 1, John Wick 2, or John Wick 3 when it's focusing on a new character. So I think it can make $300 million and be successful. I don't think it can make $400 million. So I'm going to say false.
You know what? I'm going to go with Chris on this one. Just, I think your reasoning is, I think your reasoning is totally sound, and I agree with you. But I would just like to see this movie make that much money.
I would love it to.
I want to see. Again, I like to see healthy franchises. I like to see Lionsgate have a win here with this. So I'm hoping it makes that much money. So I'm going to go true with it. Do I really believe it will? I'm with you, John. Probably not. But I want to be optimistic.
You know, it's funny thing about it that is that I think there is this Mandela effect with the John Wick franchise. We all know how much we love them and stuff like that. So everybody kind of has this thought that it's this huge, like, billion-dollar franchise. When the reality is the highest grossing one was just over $400 million.
It's R-rated.
It reminds me of Fury Road. Like when everybody thinks of Mad Max Fury Road, they think it was this massive box office smash hit.
It made
less than Black Adam.
No.
It made $380 million.
Great,
I mean, so it's kind of interesting.
That was my intro to Dolby Cinema. I loved it.
Oh, was Mad Max Fury Road? What a great one to start off your journey with Dolby Cinema. All right. Last one.
Last one from Oscar. John, true or false? The studio is on track to be the best show on TV right now.
False. I say that as somebody who loves this show. I just watched episode 4 last night, The Lost Reel, and it's great. I love this show. It's not the best show on TV, though. It is great. It's one of the best, but there's a few things that come to mind that I can already say that are currently going that are kind of a little bit better. So it's a banger of a show. You should absolutely be watching it, but I don't think it's the best. Anyway, Chris, what about you?
Well, I'm not fully caught up, but I still will say false just because this is a great vehicle, but I think it's not the best show I've been watching. But also I'm behind, so I'm not fully educated.
Rob.
Yeah, I think false too. I mean, look, I like this show a lot. I think it's really funny. It's also pretty broad. You know, it's a little goofy sometimes for me, but I'm wildly entertained by it. But I think shows like The Pit which
Oh,
was
so good.
that's an amazing show. And I would not, I mean, they're very different, so it's weird to
yeah,
compare
they're
apples and
completely
oranges.
different shows. Yeah.
I mean, it really depends what you're entertained by, but I don't think it's the best show on TV. I think it's a very good show.
Yeah, and again, I think all of us in the room would highly recommend you check it out if you haven't started watching it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's great.
Episode 2 alone. Even just go watch episode 2. Just
Oh God, episode 2 is such a masterclass. So good. All the entire episode, all one shot, and just incredible. All right, guys, that'll do it for that installment of True or False. Thank you to everybody who sent in the scenarios for us. And now let's move on to our final topic today. And our final topic is this. Reports coming out of Deadline is that Robert Pattinson's going to be the villain in Dune 3. They say that they have sources that are saying that while no deal has been made or anything like that, that's who they're looking at to play their villain, who forgive me because I've only ever read the name. I've never heard the name said, okay? Skytail? Is that the character's name?
or maybe it's just Scytale. I don't know.
Yeah, My Little Pony?
Skytail. I've only ever read the name. I've never heard it said out loud. So anyway, there's that. Twilight Boy is now moving to Arrakis. Let's go over to Deadline. They said this. Dune 3, Legendary circling Robert Pattinson for new role in upcoming installment. You're right. Even as Denis Villeneuve puts the finishing touches on the script for the next installment of the Dune franchise, the director already has his sights set on a new addition to the all-star ensemble. While sources close to the project say no formal offer has been presented, Deadline is hearing there is strong interest in Robert Pattinson joining the cast. Legendary had no comment. The film already features an A-list ensemble that includes Timothée Chalamet, Florence Pugh, and Zendaya, as many are expected to return. Even so, a handful of new roles remain, and with any Dune project, stars are lining up at the chance to appear in the Oscar-winning franchise. All right. This, to me, is very reminiscent of when we heard that Austin Butler was going to be in Dune 2, right? Like, you remember that? It's like, oh my God, like that was, and he was so good in Dune 2. And to hear Robert Pattinson joining this thing too, that would be perfection. Now, Scytale, he kind of is a guy who's like leading a conspiracy to get Paul Atreides out of power and all this kind. He's a face dancer. I don't know what that really means.
Oh, I know.
Used to be in Jonathan's dating profile.
So,
Pretty.
yeah, look, I have a ton of apprehension about Dune Messiah. I have a ton of apprehension about the book that this one will be based on. I think there's a lot of things that happen. It is to me, it's a very audience unfriendly story. But I'm holding out hope because Denis Villeneuve made significant alterations to the first 2 Dune movies. Maybe he'll have to do that a little bit more over time. But still, we're here to talk about Robert Pattinson being this. I still remember when they announced Robert Pattinson was going to be Batman. And we on our show said, this is a great casting. This is great because he's been doing all this work the last 10 years that have all directors, including, Christopher Nolan, knocking on this guy's door to be in their movies. But for all those people who never watch smaller films or watch independent films, they only knew him as Twilight Boy. Well, Twilight Boy is the one laughing now because he's getting all the offers for everything. And I think if he could join this thing, I think he would fit in there just perfectly. Anyway, Rob, as the resident Dunetician, what would you think about Robert Pattinson joining Dune 3?
I think it's great. I mean, look, like you, it's going to be really interesting. Obviously, they're adapting the book Dune Messiah. Maybe they'll dip into Children of Dune. I don't know. Dune Messiah is a short book, especially compared to the first Dune. So, having more, I think, as a foil, political intrigue is always a good thing, and it's going to be interesting to see how they're going to do all this. But I think it's a great addition. I mean, the Dune movies have an incredible cast: Javier Bardem, name it. Rebecca Ferguson. There's so many great actors. I think he fits right in with this cast, and it increases my it increases my interest. I mean, look, I just want to see billions and billions and billions of people slaughtered by Paul Atreides. Another Mother's Day fun.
It's coming.
yeah.
A great fun one for Mother's Day.
Man.
Anyway, Chris, what do you think about this?
It's always a good idea to add talent to something. He's a great actor. He's tremendous. He fits in with this cast. And for a book that, according to you, is not super great, it does move the needle a little bit of, oh, okay, well, at least they're bringing in, A-caliber actors to tell this story. And Denis Villeneuve has done a good job with it, too. You guys know, Dune is not my favorite. It's not my thing. The second one was a much improved film, and I liked watching the two of them together. That made it better for me. I love Robert Pattinson. Good for him.
And let me address this one thing quick, because I'm seeing some people in the live chat talk about it too. I've seen this being discussed online as well. There's a narrative going on out there right now, and it's not just in our own live chat. Like I said, I've seen this online. Like, oh, well that writes off Batman 2 because they're supposed to do Batman 2. They're supposed to start filming Batman 2 this year, and if he's going to be in Dune, guys, listen to me. Austin Butler was on set of Dune 2 for 3 weeks total. 3 weeks total. The average actor who's in an above the line role is on set for less than 2 months. Some longer, some longer. Robert Pattinson can do Dune 3 and 5 other movies this year if he wanted to, and if they were scheduling for it. I ain't saying Batman 2 is going to go into production this year like they keep claiming. I'm not saying they will, but if they don't, it's not going to have anything to do with Robert Pattinson's schedule, right? He could easily go do Dune 2, be there for 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 weeks, and still have half the year to go and shoot Batman if he wanted to. So this will have nothing to do with how quickly or slowly a Batman 2 will come. So don't worry about that. That won't have anything to do with it. Because I also am having my doubts that Batman 2 is going to see theaters before 2029 at this point. So we'll see. Anyway, guys, question is for you. What would you think about this? Of Robert Pattinson, according to Deadline, their sources are telling them Robert Pattinson is going to be our villain in that film. I think it would be brilliant. Absolutely brilliant if it works out. He's not the only guy that can play it, but if it ends up being him, excellent. Whatever you guys think about that, jump down in the comment section below and leave those thoughts there. All right, guys. With that all down, it's time for us to move on to the most important part of our show, which is, of course, taking your live comments and questions. But before we do that, we're going to take a quick moment and thank the sponsor of today's episode of the John Campea Show podcast, our friends at Hungryroot. Guys, we want to take a second to thank a sponsor of today's video, Hungryroot. Okay, so I'm sure you guys can all relate to this. Spring hits and suddenly life goes from like 0 to 100. Busy season is officially in full swing over here. And honestly, who's got time to go grocery shopping? That's where Hungryroot comes in. See, because Hungryroot is like having your own personal shopper. I told them my goals and they started curating groceries for me that actually fit my life. Be it smoothies, snacks, salad kits, even ready to eat meals. All clean ingredients, no artificial junk. This week, I got the grilled turkey tenderloin with pesto grilled veggies, and it was amazing. And I got my usual protein-packed snacks. It's like they're learning my taste better than I even know myself. And the best part is, I don't have to waste time driving to the grocery store and wandering the aisles. That's time I can spend doing literally absolutely anything else. Guys, I love Hungryroot. Take advantage of this exclusive offer. For a limited time, get 40% off your first box, plus get a free item in every box for life. Go to hungryroot.com/Campea and use the code Campea. That's hungryroot.com/Campea, code Campea to get 40% off your first box and a free item of your choice for life. hungryroot.com/Campea, code Campea. And thank you to our friends at Hungryroot for sponsoring today's episode of the John Campea Show podcast. All right, guys, with that all down, Ray has entered the chat. So let's get things going here. What do we got up first, Jonathan?
All right, Anonymous says, you mentioned tariffs yesterday and how it will hurt Hollywood, but theaters will suffer in an already hurting industry due to Hollywood rushing movies to streaming. These tariffs may hurt what looks like a promising summer if concessions and tickets go up.
Yeah, I mean, listen, that's the thing, is that the thing about tariffs, and again, there's a place for tariffs, 100% there are, but the thing about tariffs are, at the end of the day, you are the one who pays them. You pay them. I pay them. It's never the companies that pay them. Sure, the companies will pay it up front, but then they pass on those expenses and costs to you and me. And that will play itself out over everything. It plays itself out over services, over goods, and all that kind of stuff. So, I mean, listen, this can all still be fixed. It can all still be fixed, and we're not going to go into global politics here. But yes, if worst case scenario happens, it's also going to affect the movie theaters. 100%, you're right, but it's not too late for this whole thing to get fixed. Hopefully, they haven't driven everything totally off the cliff yet. All right, what's next?
Okay, Hayden J says, "Hey John, following your topic on the rights to Kingpin the other day, it got me thinking, is it possible that Andrew and Toby won't appear in Doomsday or Secret Wars because Marvel aren't allowed to include them as opposed to not wanting to include them?"
Well, we already found out that let me see the wording of the question.
Yeah. Here we go.
The guy thing is it possible Andrew and Toby won't appear. No, it's because we've already seen Andrew and Toby appear in the movie, right? There's no question that Andrew and Toby are allowed to appear in the movies because they've already started appearing in the movies. They were in Spider-Man No Way Home. So no, I just, listen, I know it's the unpopular thing to say, but I don't give a shit. Toby and Andrew should not be in Doomsday or Secret Wars. They made No Way Home to be their swan song, to give both of them the send-off that they never really got the chance to have. And they did it. And it was great. I think it's just going back to the well too many times. I think it's beating a dead horse to now drag them back in again. So, I mean, listen, if they do it and they have a great reason for it, I'll enjoy it as much as anybody else. But I just don't think they're not going to bring them back because there's no point in bringing them back. Anyway, but it won't have anything to do with rights because clearly they already have the rights to do it. All right, what's next?
$20 tip from McWhopper says,
"Oh, thank you, McWhopper."
When Disney got Fox, I joked, watch Disney animated Predator incoming. Well, damn it, they did it. But admittedly, I was imagining Predator versus the 7 Deadly Dwarves or 101 Alien Dalmatians. What other characters should the Predator go toe-to-toe with? Maybe Mulan? Kind of cool.
Mulan would be an interesting one. Set it back in feudal times. By the way, I watched that trailer, that Predator Killer of Killers.
Mm-hmm.
It's a good trailer.
Yeah.
I still don't believe in it.
Is that a video game or
No.
It's an animated show.
on Hulu.
That's coming. Because again, there was that Terminator one that came out last year that everybody said was going to be so good, and I watched it and I'm like, meh. So the trailer though for Predator Killer of Killers is a good trailer. I give it that. It's a good trailer. I just don't know if I believe it's going to be a good show. But I'll probably end up giving it a shot. We'll see. All right, what's next?
Did he just say that? Says, "Hi, John and crew. I can't wait till Last of Us Season 2. My prediction to get the audience right back into the story. It starts with retelling of the Firefly Hospital scenario, but Abby's point of view. What do you thinks and Bring On the Filthy?"
I don't know that that's what they will do, but that would be an interesting way to do it. Also, remember, they can simply start the show with previously on Last of Us, give us a quick little catch up, and then just pick up right at the show. I believe they're saying it's like 5 years later.
Seems about right.
I think they said it's going to be 5 or 6 years later. I can't remember exactly. And then just go right into that. But starting off the show, but a retelling of those events but you can't really, from Abby's point of view. That's right. Not Ellie's point of view. Yeah, because isn't that the way that the second game kind of starts off?
I don't remember that it starts off, but there's flashbacks.
But it happens at some point that we get to see that
flashbacks.
happen again from her point of view when she's running around and looking for her dad.
Yeah.
But I mean, that would also be a really good way to do it, actually. Again, I don't know that they will, but that would be a good way to do it.
Can I give an answer to the last question? I'm sorry. The Predator one?
Okay.
I'm sorry. I want him to go toe-to-toe with Master Chief. That would be a good fight, I think.
Oh, Alien and Predator and Master Chief.
Yeah.
That would be a pretty good one.
Yep.
All right, what's next?
Q says, "I think Doomsday will follow Infinity War's character structure, 3 or so storylines, each with the character at the center. If this is the structure of Doomsday, who would you predict as the 3 central characters of the movie?" Mine would be Reed Richards, Yelena, and then Cyclops.
I mean, it's a standard thing for a lot of these bigger tentpole movies to have multiple storylines going at the same time, right? Like even Star Wars: The Phantom Menace, right? You have the story of the Gungans and Jar Jar fighting the droid armies. You've got Anakin in space going, I know, we'll spin. That's a neat trick. And you've got Obi-Wan, Qui-Gon, and Padme in the palace, right? Like, so you got, it's a standard thing in the big tentpole films to have kind of 3 separate things, sometimes 2, sometimes 4 things going on. Yeah, I could totally see them doing something like that. As to who would be, I don't know. I don't really care.
It's too hard to say.
It depends on what the story is.
Yeah.
It depends on what the story is. But clearly Reed is going to be a centerpiece.
Yeah.
I don't know if it'll be Yelena or not. I don't know. So maybe no. I really don't know.
Yeah.
And until I know the story, I really don't care. But I think your instincts that they're going to follow something like that. Again, it's not just an Infinity War or Endgame thing. This is the thing that big tentpole films often do. So I would expect them to do that here. Yeah. All right, what's next?
Anonymous says, you're Zaslav. Superman finishes with 410 million worldwide, 58 critic, 71 audience, Rotten Tomatoes, and a B- cinema score. That's awful. You moving forward with the DCU?
Unless you're an absolute moron, of course you do. You don't change total directions after one thing.
Oh, that was just a hypothetical, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's like that. You don't change directions after one thing.
Not to mention the other movies will have other directors.
See, that's what the old Warner Brothers that was under AT&T's ownership would do. They would drastically have knee-jerk reactions and totally shift their plans from film to film instead of just kind of, here's our roadmap. Hey, listen, Superman might be but here's the other thing they won't do. If Superman makes 1.1 billion and has an A+ cinema score and a 91% critic rating, the other thing they won't do is, okay, scrap the plans. Let's just rush Superman 2 into production. They're not going to do that either because you don't be a knee-jerk reactionist one way or the other. You've got a plan. You got a roadmap, right? I'm going to use a sports analogy here. You're Bill Belichick. You've got your game plan and you come out and, we went 3 and out on our first possession. Oh, well, let's go back to the drawing board. Let's rethink it. No. Okay. Yeah. First possession didn't go our way, but we still trust in our plan. Let's keep going. So whether it makes no money, they're not going to panic and change their plans. And whether it makes all the money and becomes a huge smash, they're not going to overreact and change their plans. They're going to follow their roadmap for a couple of projects, be it terrible results, good results, or great results. It should not change a thing. Now, you get 2 or 3 in a row and you clearly see some patterns developing, well, then you start to you start to make adjustments, but you don't become a knee-jerk reactionist after one film. I don't care if it makes $2 billion. I don't care if it makes $200 million. All right, what's next?
Okay, BK, your way. DC has baggage to overcome. Is Star Wars in the same boat? Should the future head of Lucasfilm create a clean slate minus the original 6 films? I'd hate to see Mando, Rogue One, and Andor not be canon, but the fandom seem since the Disney era is arguably as toxic.
Star Wars absolutely has baggage it has to overcome, but here's the good news. The great thing about the Star Wars universe is you don't have to retcon anything.
No.
You go to a totally different corner of the universe. You fast forward 300 years. It's the Star Wars universe, right? So you can keep everything canon. You can do all that and still tell completely fresh stories because you're set 300 years later. That's the great news. That's the glory of the sandbox that George Lucas created. So you don't really have to deal with the awful garbage mess of the Star Wars prequels. You don't have to deal with the awful garbage mess of the Star Wars sequels. You can just, say it's 150 years later, and now we're following this story, and you're good.
I also feel like Star Wars has the advantage over DC where they could throw out some bad stuff, but I feel like more people will give Star Wars a chance. Like the next show, the next new thing, they'll give it a watch. Where DC, people didn't watch Blue Beetle. No. People didn't watch Flash. They didn't care. They just skipped it, right?
Yeah, because Star Wars has 50 years of loyalty.
Exactly.
The DCEU on screen was just a few years.
Right.
And there's a competitive
deeper roots there.
And DC has another competitive product, and we know who that is. So
All right, what's next?
Brandon says, "Are any of you watching The Pit on HBO?" I haven't
We
started.
talk about it all the time.
No, I haven't started yet, but I'm gonna. It's fantastic. A disturbingly realistic look at the challenges ER and frontline healthcare workers face every day. The characters are wonderful. It's full of heart, emotion, and it's super tense.
Yeah, we've talked about it all the time. It's a fabulous show. And you remember this one group of doctors, they made this video saying this is, beyond a shadow of a doubt, the most realistic interpretation of what actually happens in an emergency room. And the characters are great. The writing is fantastic. I'll tell you what, Noah Wiley's never been on my bingo card. He's a good actor. I liked him in the original ER. Didn't he play Steve? He played Steve Jobs once, didn't he? In the Pirates of Silicon Valley.
May have, yeah.
I think he was
so.
Steve Jobs.
He never crossed over like obviously,
No,
you know.
he never really broke out, and that's fine. But he's got Emmy nominations in his future for this show.
And good for him.
He's just killing it in this show.
You know,
He's great.
I was so close to watching this show until I decided to ask you guys the dreadful question that I shouldn't have asked on coming home from Vegas. How's the gore or the blood and
It can get pretty.
and now I'm having second thoughts of whether I
You
should
should still watch it. You should
You
still
can
watch.
fast
Just
forward
close
that.
your eyes when you need to close your
Yeah,
eyes because it can be pretty
You can
graphic.
skip ahead of that.
All right, what's next?
Okay, I wasn't paid for this. Says, hi John, just wanted to write an appreciation comment for Apple TV Plus. It's become my favorite streamer by far, especially for new content. Sorry if this reads like a long list, but it's kind of the point. In their first 5 years, they released Bad Sister, Slow Horses, Blackbird, Silo, Sugar, Bad Monkey, Severance, Hijack, Foundation, The Studio, which is insane, Shrinking, Dark Matter, Masters of the Air, sorry, Presumed Innocent, of course, Ted Lasso, Defending Jacob, the Big Door Prize, I didn't realize that was Apple, Platonic Servant, Prehistoric Planet, and Monarch. And then The After Party for All Mankind, Lessons in
Disclaimer.
Chemistry, yeah.
Yeah.
No, Mythic Quest. I forgot. I keep thinking that's Hulu. And these are only the most popular shows. There are lesser known series that are amazing as well, like Pachinko. What would you say are your favorites?
I mean, listen, Apple TV Plus, they have absolutely gone for the quality over quantity, but the quantity hasn't been that bad. Like, right?
It's pretty good.
Like, again,
the price point is so
first of
good,
all,
too.
Shrinking is absolutely one of my favorite shows on television. Ted Lasso was revolutionary. Ted Lasso is kind of what put Apple TV Plus, I think, on the map. That was their first true, absolute runaway breakaway hit. The thing they launched with, the morning show, which I didn't try out at first because I'm not the target demographic, but then I kind of checked it out later on. I was shocked how good that show is. I am an unapologetic fan of Monarch. I really like Monarch. But on and on, did they even mention For All Mankind in that list?
Yeah, he did.
I'm just telling you. And it has been, I'm telling you, pound for pound, shot for shot, they're competing very aggressively with HBO and Max as the absolute best in television.
And they're still
right
cheaper,
now.
even after
And they're still the cheapest one out there. They're really doing remarkable.
I'm glad he brought up that list. Oh, also Noah Wiley did play Steve Jobs.
It was okay. Yeah.
He brought up Hijack, and I don't know, for some reason
Oh yeah, with
I was so close to finishing that. Now I gotta go back. I don't know why I didn't finish it. The quantity with Apple TV I think is working for me because I like watching things like slowly. Like I just finished
you kind of piecemeal it.
episode 5 on Severance, and it feels like you could just, as soon as you finish that series that you watched, you got another good one you have on your backlog.
Yeah, it's
Just
not like a bunch
Apple.
of filler.
Yeah, just
honestly.
Apple.
They're not going for it. Like, they're not doing, again, I'm not trying to trash on Netflix. I'm a Netflix subscriber. I love Netflix, but they're not like Netflix where it's just like, throw out 15 new series this month and just throw whatever crap out there. And every once in a while we'll have one that's really good.
Whatever works.
I mean, Apple is just like, if they're putting out a new series, there's a good chance it's probably really good.
And their series have impact on you, right? Like Shrinking.
Yeah.
Like you think about it afterwards.
All
like
the time.
episodes.
Yeah.
They have multiple series that do that for me. Where
Silo for me was awesome.
where
Foundation.
Netflix is just, you eat the popcorn, Stranger Things, talk about it next day, and then it's over. And then, but Apple has those shows that last,
with you.
that are long lasting.
All right. What's next?
Tron.
Hey, Trump.
Hey, John and crew. Here's another for the watch list.
Stupid.
If you weren't aware of it, Mobland with Dame Helen Mirren, Pierce Brosnan, Tom Hardy. 2 episodes out so far, and it's been a pretty great watch.
I
It's on-
just saw the trailer for it last week.
it's on like
What's that on?
Sling or something.
What's that?
Sling TV or
No,
what's
no,
that on?
it's on one of the major streamers.
is
I
it?
can't
Okay.
remember which one. But you just got Pierce Brosnan. if you come after my family. I mean, it's like Tom Hardy. It looks really good. I honestly didn't know it started airing.
Oh, yeah.
I just saw the trailer for it last week, but I definitely plan on checking that.
Paramount Plus.
It's on Paramount Plus.
Okay.
It sounded like a Paramount Plus show.
Yeah, it definitely sounds like a Paramount Plus one. But it looks really good, so I'm going to be checking it out for sure. All right, what's next?
Late to the party says, Daredevil Born Again. My, the writing is so good. I almost don't miss Matt in his Daredevil suit. Wilson and Vanessa are terrifying. Poor Adam. It was nice knowing him. Heather may need a therapist after all this.
This is the thing that I've said about a lot of things about Matt not being in the suit, which is Matt is always Daredevil. Like, he's done a lot of daredeviling. He just hasn't been wearing the suit, and that's perfectly fine. Like, whether he's wearing the suit or not. Now, it would be different if he was like only doing lawyer things, period, the whole show. Then that's one thing. But he's totally he is Daredevil all the time. And so that's totally worked for me. And again, like I said, even though there's one episode still left to go, I'm ready to call it. I have called it. This series has been an unmitigated win for Disney, and they needed it. They needed it. Here's hoping they can follow it up. And
Isn't there something satisfying about just someone picking on a guy in a suit and that guy in the suit just whoops their ass?
No, I love that in any movie or TV show. That's always great. All right, what's next?
We got Joe Chill, two-parter thoughts. The trust fund kid is only concerned about crime when it affects him. Instead of using his wealth for universal solutions in Gotham, he spends billions on high-tech weapons to fight criminals. This ignores that desperation drives people to crime, making morality a luxury. Batman or Bruce Wayne is out of touch with their struggles, opting to hurt and gaslighting rather than seek understanding, living in a delusion of being a misunderstood hero.
You've clearly never read Batman.
These are some convenient arguments.
Yeah, I mean, Bruce, as Bruce, is constantly creating foundations and charities to try to help people to not fall into that situation.
Yes.
But then when you become a person who chooses to hurt another person, you're going to get got.
And he didn't choose it like later in life. I mean, he was a little boy when his parents died. Yeah. It's not like as an 8-year-old kid or 9-year-old, he's like, I'm going to fight for justice. Like, he didn't know yet about the world.
And it's not lost on me on what they made their name in there, Joe Chill.
Yeah.
But so I get, but no, that's the thing. Like, the Bruce character has always been in touch with that, right? He's always tried to make the situation and the living situation in Gotham better for people. And then as Batman, he's like, okay, now for people who then choose to draw the line and hurt other people, then there's the night of vengeance is coming for you. So yeah, he's always kind of got that and understood that. I think it would be a very unbalanced character if they didn't portray Bruce that way, but they do portray Bruce that way, both in the comics and in the on-screen iterations.
And you're not stopping Riddler and Joker with social justice.
Right. But
they're maniacs.
You can hopefully prevent some Riddlers and Jokers from being created.
Right. Future.
And that's what Bruce does.
Yeah.
Once they're there, that's what Batman does.
Yeah.
All right, what's next?
All right. Mike's Movie Madness. Hey, John and company, thank you in advance for being a distraction for my day. My mom's in the hospital thanks to an idiot driving over 100 miles per hour. Thankfully, she'll be all right, but it's hospital all day for me today. What's a movie you watch to distract from life?
I have a very, I get asked a version of this question all the time. First of all, best well wishes to your mom. I get asked this question all the time. I actually have as many movies as I love and all that kind of stuff. When things are crappy, I have a small set of movies that I will inevitably go to. And it just all depends on what I'm in the mood for. But these are movies that to me just do a great job of letting me check out for a little bit, let my whole mind, consciousness, everything just relax, have a breath, have a breather, hopefully get a little bit refreshed. Movies are, in no particular order, Step Brothers.
It's my favorite of his.
Galaxy Quest, and Zoolander. For whatever reason, I'm not saying those are the funniest movies of all time. I'm not saying they're the best movies of all time, not at all. But for whatever reason, when I just feel, when life gets hard, and it does for all of us, and when things are kind of crappy, and my soul needs a break and an oasis, a reprieve, if you will, those are a couple of movies that I will turn to all the time. You guys have any of those movies that for
Well,
you?
Step Brothers is definitely on that list. I try to mix it up. So with comedies, I'll go like History of the World or Spaceballs. I love Mel Brooks.
Oh,
so
I have to
much.
put Spaceballs on that list too. Actually,
I love Mel Brooks. And then, I mean, the top of the pinnacle of comedy for me is always going to be why am I drawing a blank?
It's a Mel Brooks movie.
No.
Oh.
Life of Brian or
Bonnie Girl.
or Search for the Holy Grail.
Yeah.
You know,
Of course, mine's Employee of the Month. Movie makes me feel good. And the other one is Happy Gilmore. And hopefully I could add this new Naked Gun coming out soon to that list of funny.
The new
hilarious-
Naked Gun looks so good.
Yeah.
By the way, just for you, Jonathan. Okay.
let's talk about swallows. In the,
All
we
right.
got
What's next?
Benji the Husky says, just finished rewatching The Last of Us season 1 in prep for season 2 with my wife. She went in blind watching it for the first time, knowing nothing about Joel and Ellie.
Oh, wow.
It was fun watching her reaction to the big moments in season 1. I played both games 3 times each. Can't wait for season 2.
How much did she cry in episode 3? That's the one. I mean, that is one of the single greatest episodes of television I've ever seen. Episode 3 is like singularly one of the greatest episodes I think of all time. But yeah, there's some great big moments in there. I'm going to be doing a quick rewatch of it as well, leading into season 2. I'm really, really excited for it. Anyway, I'm glad your wife liked it, man. All right, what's next?
Agent Michael Scarn. We've got we're not serving justice here. We're just babysitting chaos.
Yeah,
That's good
great
Daredevil.
line.
Yeah, good Daredevil writers. Don't get those who whine about less action when compelling dialogue is better than compelling action, and compelling dialogue makes the action all the better. What's the payoff?
You know, somebody wrote into me last night and said, I don't like this. It's too much talking. I'm like, I get it. There's some people, I want the picture books, the books without the pictures. And like, I don't understand that. This is great, compelling storytelling. Action should never be there for action's sake. Action should be there to serve story and to tell story. And I've always said action without narrative purpose is just visual noise. And that's one of the things that I love about this show is that the action is there to serve the story, to help push the story forward. And it's not just there for the sake of being there. That's one of the things and I was really nervous about this season of Daredevil. I was really nervous that they wouldn't get that, but they do. And that's one of the things that I think makes it really great. But that's just me. All right, what's next?
All right, we got Ian McAllister. What's more likely, Colossal Biosciences hits their goal and resurrects the woolly mammoth by 2028, or we get Blade in 2028? We got Dire Wolves before the Blade movie.
Honestly, if they
Ray, any input on that?
if they can make Dire Wolves, there's nothing stopping them from making woolly mammoths, right?
Yeah.
They've got all the genetic material they need, so we are living in Jurassic Park, everybody.
And this viewer may have found one of the only things that I would put over Blade. I was so fascinated with the woolly mammoth when I was a kid. I would love to see the resurrection of the woolly mammoth over Blade. But also, it's because I don't believe that Blade's gonna ever come out now.
Yeah, we live in a world where it is more believable that the extinct woolly mammoth will walk the earth again than it is that we're actually going to get this Blade movie. That's what we're living in. All right, what's next?
Man, stranger than fiction. Okay, Jojo Giraffe with a 3-parter says, in a recent interview with comicbook.com, Craig Mazin stated he will be done with The Last of Us show since they've completed the story as it currently exists with the games, i.e. the end of Last of Us Part 2. But when asked about expanding the show beyond The Last of Us, Craig said that decision is largely up to Neil Druckmann. Surprised more outlets didn't pick up as a story, given that Neil is primarily a game developer. I absolutely didn't see him allowing a season 4 of The Last of Us with Ellie and Company without making the game first. He has also been wishy-washy in his wording about if there will be a third game or not. I bet there will be, but not for a while. Yes, Shogun and others have moved past source material, but The Last of Us is a slightly more unique position.
Not really. And,
No.
you know, people say things in interviews all the time. And like, listen, it's different than if Craig Mazin say, I am legally obligated not to do another one. And this is what prevents me. He's saying, no, I'm going to be done. Guess what? That changes all the time. That can change in one meeting. That can change in one meeting with Druckmann and an HBO executive making a pitch to Mazin going, you know what? That sounds like a lot of fun. So the reason you're not seeing people make a big deal out of it, because it's really not a big deal. Whether Mazin's involved or not, I 100% guarantee you there's going to be a Last of Us season 4. 100%. Doesn't matter if there's a game there or not. I mean, that's just provided that Last of Us season 2 is as good as we think it's going to be, and the Last of Us season 3 is also really good and well watched. Absolutely nothing stopping it. I 100% guarantee that there's definitely going to be a Last of Us season 4. 100%. All right, what's next?
All right, Mr. Veju says, it was interesting seeing Jenna Ortega admit she quit the new Scream movie in solidarity with Melissa and both of their support for Palestine.
That is categorically false. That is not what she said.
Yeah, I don't know where people
That is not what Jenna Ortega said. Jenna Ortega said directly was, between that situation and between the director leaving, she said it just started to feel like the whole project was falling apart.
Yeah.
And that's why she left. Do not misrepresent what she actually said, because that is not what she said.
She didn't leave for the actress.
Yeah,
but anyway,
please go on.
it will be interesting to see this dynamic play out throughout Hollywood going forward with other actors and movies.
So again, you are completely creating a false narrative. Again, that is not what Jenna Ortega said. Her direct words, her direct quote was, between that and the director leaving and a few other things happening, it just became apparent to her that the project was kind of falling apart, and therefore she left. So listen, you can raise the point that that was part of the situation, but don't misinterpret and don't make a directly kind of false thing that this is what, no, it's not. Go read what she said and read specifically what she said. Anyway. All right, what's next?
But Nev is returning, isn't she?
What's that?
Isn't
Nev,
Nev returning for 7?
Nev Campbell?
Yeah.
Yep, Nev Campbell's back. So is Friends girl.
Cox, Courtney Cox.
Yeah.
Courtney Cox.
Which, you know what? It's so weird. I had it in my head that she died in the last film.
I do too.
You know what? Does it matter?
I think she just got stabbed,
Yeah,
and they
she
made
did.
her think she died,
Yeah,
but
that
she didn't.
she was in, like,
anyway,
the,
but yes, Nev Campbell is returning to the Scream franchise.
There you go. Raymond says, heard about the new LeBron. Oh, okay. Heard about the new LeBron doll from Mattel. Might flop. Whatever.
Oh, I get.
Oh, boy, yeah.
All right, what's next?
Blake, very excited for Superman. I do have one concern. I hope in efforts to make him relatable that they don't power him down. I hope a kryptonite bullet was involved in that opening shot. You don't need to make him weaker to tell a great Superman story. He's still gonna be super powered. Like, he's still Superman.
No, but you can't have him be. This has always been the challenge. This is why a lot of people say they're not really interested in Superman stories. We've talked about this for years and years and years and years. When you have a character that is so, like, literally invulnerable, there's suddenly no stakes, there's no drama, there's no thrills. He's just a god. Now, I think what you're going to see this happening is, I think that is the result of a fight with Ultraman, maybe. And Ultraman, depending on of which version of the story you're reading, is like a clone of Superman. So sometimes a Superman is not about depowering him, it's about coming up with characters then that could pose a threat to him. But you got to be careful, because now all of a sudden you're talking about celestial beings and all these sorts of things. So you have to do him in a certain way that he is the mightiest superhero of the world, but at the same time is not completely unchallengeable. You know, right? You know what I mean? And so that's always been kind of the trick with telling Superman stories. And I think James Gunn, who knows the Superman mythos better than anybody, I think he'll come up with a good balance of that for the movie.
Yeah,
All right.
I gotta love Clark Kent first before I move on to Superman. He's gotta. I really think James Gunn will bring more of the Clark Kent character in his movie, like, you know, that side of it. Because in the last one we didn't. I don't know. It wasn't relatable, that Clark Kent that Henry Cavill played.
Well, one of the decisions, the reason I liked it, and one of the decisions that Zack Snyder and they made with Superman and Clark Kent was, they made the decision to not really have there be a difference between Superman and Clark.
Yeah.
Like, when you see Clark in the old DCU, the Henry Cavill Superman, Zack Snyder made the choice that in the Daily Planet, he wasn't the golly, Miss Lane, jeepers, Perry,
right.
but like he was still talking the way he normally talked. And I thought that was an interesting approach because it's not something we've seen them do before. So I don't know, but clearly James Gunn is going to make a big distinction between Clark and Kal-El. So it's going to be interesting to see how that kind of plays out. All right, what's next?
We got Slarta Bard. Hey, John and crew, it's my 26th birthday today. Just wanted to say thank
Happy
you
birthday!
Happy birthday, man.
for you for the hours of entertainment you've given me throughout the years. Going to celebrate with my friends by getting shit faced and watching the Minecraft movie. But just don't throw your drinks in the
Yeah,
theater.
don't be one of the assholes that starts ruining the viewing experience for everybody else. Anyway, seriously, dude, happy birthday to you. May you have a wonderful day and a wonderful year ahead of you, man. Thanks for sharing.
All right,
All right, what's next?
We got Jerry. We got two more. So Jerry, hi crew. Do you think that a Comic-Con or maybe D23 or other events, Marvel is going to announce the 3 movies of 26, or do you think they'll just release 2 movies till Secret Wars?
That's a good question. You remember, one of the things that Bob Iger kind of said is that they're going to try to reel in how much content they put out. But I got to believe that at either CinemaCon, I don't know, when is the next D23?
It's
Is
not
there
every
even a
year.
D23 this year? Yeah, I
Yeah,
don't
I'm
think
not
there is a
sure.
D. Remember, D23 is not every year.
Oh, I always thought it was
No, it's every other year, I think.
It's every other year. I gotta believe they're
August
going to
29th.
this year.
Oh, so
Yeah.
it is this year because it wasn't in 2024.
Oh, is that what it was?
Yeah.
Okay.
Colorado Springs Resort at Orlando, Florida.
Oh, they're not doing D23 in Anaheim?
Guess it's going to be in Orlando.
Interesting. Anyway, I gotta believe they're going to announce something. I mean, I have no insider information whatsoever, but I gotta believe they're going to announce something. We'll see.
All right.
All right, what's next?
This next one is a bit spoilery. So for Daredevil, so I'm putting the spoilers before I read it. Daredevil spoiler. Okay. Anonymous says, and let me cut over here to it.
You know, don't put it on the screen.
Okay.
Yeah, and
Good
don't,
idea.
Don't talk my way.
Good idea. Well, sorry. We got spoiler. Do you think in last night's episode that Matt smashing Bullseye's head on the table was him helping him with a way out? Because to
No.
me, it seems like he knew he was there and was okay with him killing Fisk until he realized it was Vanessa.
No. That would require so much luck and thinking. So no, I really don't. I really don't think so. By the way, I don't think that's D23 this year. They're calling it Destination.
Oh,
D23.
Destination D23.
Yeah. So I don't think it's D23
Okay,
proper.
how confusing is that?
Yeah, it's a little confusing.
Come on,
it really
y'all.
is.
Come on.
So no. I don't think Matt was doing that on purpose. I don't think that was him. Here, I will hit your head in the perfect way that this one tooth will pop out. So later you can spit your tooth at a guard and kill. You think Matt was helping him kill people? I'll help you take out a guard and kill a doctor. Yeah, that's what I'm doing. No, I don't think that's what was going through Matt's head. All right. Do we have anything from our channel
Yeah,
members?
we've got some channel members.
We got a little bit of time. Let's take some questions from our channel members.
All right. Joel Checky, just want to say I'm grateful for you guys in the show. It's my main outlet for my love of movies and my fandom.
Oh, thanks, man.
I don't really have anyone in my life right now that is anywhere near as passionate as I am. So every day for the last 4.5 years, I have come here. Thank you.
You know what? It's when I created Movie Talk. I started with the movie blog audio edition, and when that eventually became AMC Movie Talk and whatever. It came from the place that I had, that I wanted a place to talk about movies the way me and my friends talk about sports. And that's one of the main reasons why I used to love, I still watch a lot of sports talk shows, because I love hanging out with somebody virtually on the screen and talking sports. And I was so deeply passionate about movies, and a lot of my friends were too. I wanted to create a place online that we could do it kind of the same way. And that's kind of the whole point, is for all of these types of shows, is like, if there's a object of our passionate fandom, be that shoes, music, sports, movies, what have you, to create a virtual water cooler that we can all just get around and chat and talk about movies. And I love that we get to do it. And I love that people like yourself benefit from it as well. And it's just part of the ongoing conversation. So thank you, man. I appreciate that very much. All right, what's next?
Matt says hello, no questions, just massive thanks to the whole team for the years of top content. Much love from the UK.
Oh, thanks, man. Appreciate that.
Then King Daddy Goat says, "Hey crew, hope all is well. Man, I am loving the studio. There hasn't been one episode where I wasn't laughing my ass off. This might be Seth Rogen's best work, and I'm on one of the biggest Rogen stands. Seth is going to get an Emmy one day. I can feel it."
Rogen's been having some really good results with, especially as a producer. You're talking about Preacher, you're talking about The Boys, you're talking about Invincible, like all that kind of stuff. But I think I agree. This is his best work. The studio is just phenomenal, man. It's so good. And I think, and I don't think we've seen peak Seth Rogen yet. That's the funny thing. I don't think we've seen peak Seth Rogen yet. He just keeps getting more and more talented the more and more experiences that he has. So, and yeah, the studio is like one of the best things out there right now. You gotta be watching the studio, guys. It's so good. All right, what's next?
Jeff Hurst says, "Aren't you wishing Born Again had more action? Because
No.
I really miss the action the series used to have. I don't mind drama and tension and good dialogue, but one of the hallmarks of this character the previous seasons was its commitment to incredible action sequences on top of the drama," which is weird because I feel like a lot of people used to complain the original one didn't have as much. Seems like we're missing out on half of what the show could have been.
Nope. Action, because then you're just throwing in action sequences for the sake of having them, and then that's pointless. Action without narrative purpose is just visual noise, and you get bored of it, desensitized of it pretty quick. Oh, it's like, listen, I used to love Arrow, right? One of the problems though with Arrow, even when I loved the show, was that, oh, it's like the obligatory action scene here. Like, but why are they having a fight? How does it make sense that these guys are here at this point? Just got to have a fight scene. Okay, have a fight scene. No, listen, to me, action, and I love action. You guys know this, but to me, action is just another tool in the belt to help tell the story. And like any other tool in the belt, it should only be used where it's needed. And this story has just been so good and so compelling. And by the way, there have been a lot of action sequences in this show. But should they just have an obligatory action scene every episode just for the sake of it? No. So like for me personally, and we're all different, but you're asking me, and for me, absolutely not. I think they've been using action sequences exactly where they should be, exactly when they should be, and actually furthering the story. Just now throwing in more action for the sake of doing it, I think that takes away from your story. I think that takes away from the overall show. So, nah, I think it's been perfect. I really do. All right, guys. And that'll do it for today's installment of the John Campea Show podcast. Thank you so much for being here and making our little show part of your day. Big special thank you to all you guys who sent in questions. Number one, because you gave us great fun things to talk about. But number two, you supported this channel as you did it, and all of us involved with the show. Thank you guys so very much for your support. Don't forget to come on back and join us again tomorrow. I want to thank Ray Ora.
Hey, see you guys tomorrow.
Jonathan Voico.
See you guys Thursday.
Obviously, Chris Carr and Robert Meyer Burnett, who aren't in the room anymore. You'll see Robert back again tomorrow. My name's John Campea, guys. And until next time, my friends, bye-bye.